Sudan's army and the rival paramilitary Rapid Support Forces have agreed to extend a fragile truce for another 72 hours. But there's been more fighting in the capital, Khartoum, and other areas. Hundreds of people have been killed in the two-week conflict. Thousands of Sudanese civilians are still trying to escape. Many who are unable to leave are short of vital supplies. A growing number of countries are evacuating their diplomats and nationals.
As foreigners head out, millions of Sudanese, without the advantage of foreign citizenship, are left to fend for themselves, grabbing whatever they can to stock up on vital supplies that are running out across the country.
There are no supplies. We're not receiving any new goods. No wheat, there's nothing coming in. And any supply that is exhausted, we cannot replace. We hope that God will help the people.
Shops and houses are being raided by armed groups. For those who want to flee, one way out is through this land border crossing into Egypt. But the path to that northern border from major cities like Khartoum and Durman is long and dangerous, and fuel is scarce.
We need fuel. We've been here for 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today, Thursday. We don't know if the gas station will open or not. As you can see, they open the station and fill 2 or 3 cars, and then they close it.
And without that fuel to escape the violence, those who live here must remain, hoping the warring factions can be convinced to stop shooting.
And let's get the point of view now from someone who was active in the Sudanese revolution of 2018-2019. Mohammed El Naim is a sociologist at the University of Cambridge. Welcome to DW News. What goes through your mind, Mohammed, when you see what's happening in Sudan now?
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate the suggestion that I was involved in the revolution, and I was one of millions of people who was moved. The people who are actually were at the forefront of the revolution are the resistance committees right now, who, in the absence of the humanitarian organizations and international organizations, have been and against all odds have been engaging in humanitarian activities, helping with the evacuation of both Sudanese people and foreigners, and have been at the forefront of the political process, but were sidelined by some of the diplomats who were mediating the transition to civil democracy, and who, instead of choosing to engage with them as the politically experienced activists that they were, chose instead to confer legitimacy onto generals like Hamdok and Hemeti, who are now fighting, and the Sudanese people are paying the price.
So the revolution didn't turn out the way that you and your colleagues were hoping. We're seeing thousands of foreign nationals fleeing to safety in Sudan now. But what's it like for the Sudanese themselves who want to do the same, who want to leave the country?
I guess they feel abandoned. They feel abandoned by the international community, and they felt abandoned for a long time. I mean, the Sudanese people, when they were out protesting, the pro-democracy protesters, the resistance communities, the people I think who really deserve to be called the leaders of the revolution, they were demanding no legitimacy, no partnerships, and no negotiations with the military junta. But it was Western diplomats and their friends in the Gulf who were instead forcing the political elites and the military leaders into a negotiation and sidelining the pro-democracy voices.
Right.
And they feel like they could have warned about this a long time ago, and they have nowhere to go. I mean, I'll give you an example of a story. I have a relative of mine. She's Sudanese, but her son is a young boy, 7 years old. He's British. He's got severe autism. She went yesterday to the airbase to try and get on the plane as the carer of her son. Not only she was refused, but also her son was refused.
In
because
Khartoum.
he doesn't have access to the paperwork.
Is that right?
Was in Khartoum.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the British government refusing a 7-year-old boy with autism, mainly because he doesn't have access to the papers, which have been withheld by his father, his estranged father, and the mother was not allowed to go on the plane. So these are the kinds of stories of how Sudanese people feel almost dehumanized, not human enough to be evacuated from a war of which the circumstances they didn't even begin. They weren't the reason.
Okay, yeah, we hear that the humanitarian situation in Khartoum and elsewhere in the country is deteriorating rapidly. Mohammed, thank you very much for talking with us. That was Mohammed El Naim from the University of Cambridge.
Thank you.